At time of recording this episode of the Dealer Playbook podcast, I've just returned from NADA 2022. Of course, when you walk around the floor, DPV gang, you probably already know this, but you hear people tongue-in-cheek, oh, what's the buzzword going to be? I might even be one of them from time to time. It was SEO, then it was big data, then it was, I don't know, digital retail. And of course, walking around the floor this year, we heard a lot about, oh, well, the buzz is probably going to be Amazon advertising. And I got to think, well, maybe there's good reason for all the buzz. And so no better individual to sit down with right now, the CMO of a company called CognitionDigital, Vasilios Lambos. Thanks so much for joining me on the Dealer Playbook podcast.
Thank you, Michael. It's a pleasure.
All right, so let's talk about this. We got Facebook, we've got Google, we've got Bing. Now we're talking all about Amazon. I want to turn this over to you. Let's set the table here. Why Amazon? Why, as a dealer who maybe they're thinking, really, another platform? Well, how many platforms do we need? Why Amazon?
Well, I think first off, we got to give Amazon advertising a little context into where Amazon fits in the overall media plan. Today, we're super familiar with paid search, paid social, and with, cookies, third-party cookies, as the privacy concerns sort of come to light, dealers and marketers are looking back at programmatic advertising.
Right.
The way to better find a more niche audience that fits their marketing objectives or their business objective. And Amazon's pretty well suited to fit the needs of marketers and dealers today because of the data, the first party data that Amazon has, because they are the largest e-commerce site in the country or in the world for that matter. And so why does it matter for dealers? Well, there's this little known thing, and I think a lot of people have overlooked it, but over the past 5 to 6 years, Amazon created a shopper experience called the Amazon Garage. The Amazon Garage allows users to upload their vehicle information, make, model, year, and that does a couple things. One, it allows you to get a personalized shopper experience on Amazon.com. Second, it allows advertisers like Cognition to better target users based on the make, model, and year that they have of the vehicle they own in their driveway on Amazon.com. So, programmatic fits two categories. It's display and OTT. But what we built was a dynamic solution to meet those audiences with the right creative. And we talk about personalization all the time. When you're going to advertise your business, you want to create the right message to the right audience. What better way to do that with first-party data that Amazon has, because they know what you're shopping for, they know where you're shipping your products, and they now know what vehicle you own. And so that level of personalization kind of put Amazon on the map. Amazon Garage today is actually the second largest repository of user-generated vehicle ownership data outside the DMV. It's actually over 200 million vehicles are uploaded on the Amazon Garage. So it's a force to reckon with. And it makes sense why it's become such a hot topic today.
Now, tell me a little bit more about this garage, because I think people are probably using it and not even realizing they're using it. Is this to clarify, is this where, say I type in BMW X5 products and it says, hey, well, tell us exactly what your vehicle is so we can show you the products that will be an exact match?
You hit the nail on the head. It's that simple. And there's many, we speak with many dealers, even agencies today, who ask us questions around, where is this experience? And Amazon isn't aggressively marketing the Amazon Garage as, hey, use this product and experience. It's not there yet. It's still early in terms of the integration to their overall shopper experience.
Right.
However, there are many people who have uploaded their vehicle information that may be in their Amazon Garage account 3 years ago, 2 years ago, kind of in that early infancy of how Amazon was building this experience out. Fast forward today, you see large brands like Hyundai and, I think even No, it was Hyundai that created a kind of a unique partnership to push inventory from a digital retailing standpoint.
Mm-hmm.
Those brands are buying into translating digital retailing, right, and integrating that more exclusively with Amazon. Now, from an advertised perspective, like all we want is the data. And in allowing the user to upload your information, it's a win-win. You're going to get personalized parts and accessories recommendations. You're going to get to the product faster. You're going to get to maybe a better product that is going to be lower cost than what you're purchasing right at your local dealer. If you're more of a DIY and you're looking to fix your vehicle yourself. So there's tons of advantages just in general that having that data in your account. But for the advertiser, for the dealer, it's super beneficial that we now are not just going to spend money on marketing and not know who are seeing our ads, right? And we can get very, very granular. And so when the biggest value to Amazon, in my opinion, as a media buyer, is coupling the make model audience data with life stage or other e-commerce data. So what I mean by that is there are over 50 plus subsidiaries, companies that Amazon owns, like Whole Foods or Twitch TV. Those purchase behaviors that occur at Whole Foods, right, that indicates maybe a newborn, like a mother that has having a newborn baby, or purchasing like baby formula at Whole Foods, she might be in market to shop for a larger SUV for her growing family. And you can couple those audience segments together and serve them very specific inventory.
Right.
And so that level of granularity is pretty powerful when you're thinking about spending your media dollars effectively.
All the people that shop at Whole Foods are sitting here going, how did they know that I want to buy a Subaru? I was like, dude, because you were a granola.
It's so true. It's kind of, we try to articulate our value add. Cognition is Amazon only, right? Like we do one thing, we do it really, really well. And we try not to sound creepy because here you have kind of this conflicting message in the market from a strategy perspective. Everybody's saying privacy, privacy, privacy. It's becoming harder to track online engagement. And you're seeing that struggle with Facebook in particular in the last 18 months.
Right.
Programmatic has sort of it's been around forever.
Right.
You've probably seen those really annoying display ads on a website. You probably clicked on them 100 times or not, and made a purchasing decision because you saw that ad. It's been around there since the inception of the web. Only now are we seeing that programmatic and display and OTT has become significantly more targeted and more effective. And so, yeah, you have so many. I say there's an audience for everything. As like my line that I like to use.
You know what's more annoying than advertising in general? Advertising that has nothing to do with and or speaks to anything you're interested in. My wife, we lay in bed, we're watching, something on Hulu, Amazon, whatever, Amazon Prime. And we've noticed we're starting to get commercials in these platforms. Maybe we're not paying for the luxury tier. I don't know. And by the way, this is not a racial comment. I hate that I even have to say this, but when my wife and I get ads delivered to us in Spanish, dude, we don't speak Spanish. I don't understand what they're saying. And it doesn't make me want to buy your baby, as beautiful as the language is, it doesn't make me want to buy your baby formula. Also, side note, no babies for baby formula. So what we're talking about here, what I think is really interesting and by the way, DPB gang, this is me with my marketer cap on, right? I've got nothing against that. Don't get all woke on me and be like, oh, he hates Spanish people. No, I don't. I just hate irrelevant advertising more than I hate advertising, and so to your point, first party data coupled with household level targeting, coupled with life milestones, and I'm sure 1,000 plus more other signals, you have the ability not to be creepy, and it's not even a privacy issue. If people really had an issue with privacy, they wouldn't input any information to begin with. So to couple all of that so that the end user can actually get messaging that's relevant to something going on in their life, much more enjoyable to consume those ads than it is to get something that has absolutely nothing to do with anything.
You're 100% correct. And so, our solution, right, to serving more personalization, more granularity has been sort of broken up for the dealer in a few different ways. We have a few products that meet very specific business objectives. So for variable operations, it's VIN specific ads that we deliver to these first party make model year audiences. And we're dynamically serving and layering, to your point, those key moments and life stages based on your inventory mix. So at, broad stroke at this, right? Like, we don't know your name and address as a company, right? We have these audiences that are made available to us in the DSP, and our software, which is that layer above Amazon advertising, makes the decision engine to serve that ad or that vehicle to the right customer. We're doing it with fixed ops. And so if you have certain purchase or search behavior for specific parts and accessories, we can layer in, service offers through the advent of a feed. We can layer in parts and accessories that the dealer is selling and even market that to users based on their purchase history and behavior on Amazon.com. I think the most compelling, right, solution that we brought to the market with Amazon is vehicle acquisition. Given that the entire market has sort of seen a lot of pressure on the new car side, and we've been able to create dynamic offers for the vehicle with a range, an actual value range, based on where that user lives and what vehicle they own. I think we've seen the most success out of that specific product. And the reason we've seen success is because Amazon is allowing a lot of technology to be built that we are sort of first to party on building. One of those tools has been offline attribution. And so we can match back today sales data, whether that's RO data, lead data, showroom visit data. As long as it has an email, we can match it back to OTT and display on Amazon.
Wow.
And what we're finding is that we are getting significantly high match rates out of the gate. This is something that was brought to market less than 3 months ago. Okay. And so it's definitely on the bleeding edge. We have a lot of developing case studies, a lot of complete case studies for each of these strategies. But that's the biggest advantage for dealers to take advantage of in the media space is they haven't had a concrete channel to measure success in. Even Facebook has significantly been watered down on their offline attribution matchback. And we found a great solution here with no limitations on the attribution window. We can match back to 90 days. We can match it back to 100 days if we would like. And so to create that story is really not only be able to target the right audience, but are we driving business results? Is it achieving an ROI? And we've been able to prove and say, yes, not only yes, but in the 300 to 600% range in terms of return on ad spend. And so the data doesn't lie, it's there. And a lot of the advantage, I think, in the next year is going to be a blend of media arbitrage, where dealers are going to be looking for media channels just outside of the traditional Google, Facebook, where they're going to get a more efficient buy,
right?
And more value for their money. And then secondly, aligning again, as we see inventory recover in end of 2022 into 2023, how are we now ramping dollars back up in the most effective manner? There were a lot of dealers that turned off their ad budget or reduced their ad budget. They're going to be kind of lost in the fray come time to say, hey, now how do I remain competitive? And we see that every day. I mean, the dealers we talk to, we built this business on early adopters looking for that new channel. And we've seen success. Now come, time for the market to recover. Those dealers are going to be way ahead of the game when it comes to advertising on Amazon.com.
Is there a saturation point? And what I mean by that is, I would venture to say majority of dealerships are advertising in some way, shape, or form on Facebook, Google. Is there a similar saturation point with Amazon?
So in automotive, I would say at the tier 3 level, individual franchise level, there may be more saturation on the OTT side than there would display.
Okay.
But when I say that, I say with a grain of salt. So back of the napkin math, 80% of the country, if you're 18 or older, has an Amazon account. Broad strokes, where we see some limitations in your ceiling in terms of how much you could spend in the channel, we've really only seen it on the OTT side in really rural market areas that may have sub 100,000 people that you could target.
Gotcha.
And that 100,000, person DMA or market area zip code list, whatever it may be, amounts to a ceiling of about $5,000 on OTT. When I look at metro areas or areas that have between 500,000 to 2.5 million people, most dealers, when you're looking at a balanced media plan, they are way off from maxing out the channel or really spending in a channel that's quote unquote oversaturated. So we are far from that. I think we're 5 years out from having a conversation of Amazon or buying an Amazon in our market programmatically is quote unquote expensive. It is super, super efficient. So, to give you an idea of that, in any average market, dealers that are spending between $3,000 to $5,000 on display, they're seeing between $2 to $5 in terms of a CPM. And that's for an audience that's first party. That's an audience, what vehicle they own. Right. And you may also know that person has purchased a very specific product on Amazon and has very specific intent. To me, that's a no-brainer versus the $10 to $15 CPMs you see on like a Facebook, a Pinterest, a TikTok, and it's, shotgun approach. You have no idea who clicked your ad, right, and who visited your website outside of what the pixel is delivering, in terms of the signals, right? Those signals that are going to indicate in the algorithm who to serve the ad to. That doesn't occur on Amazon advertising in this use case because we are very specifically dialing in which audience is seeing which ad unit, right? Which actual creative.
I want to sidebar just for a minute because there's this thought rolling around in my mind as it pertains to Amazon and as it pertains to all of this data that we now have to leverage and the power of this advertising platform. And that sidebar thought is how important it is to play the long game. And here's what I mean. Okay, just entertain me for a minute. I watched this Amazon documentary about Jeff Bezos and the space shuttle and what's the dude's name? Captain Kirk, William Shatner going to space in Blue Origin, right? Is that what it's called? Yeah, Blue Origin. One of the things that I thought was particularly interesting about this documentary is the fact that Jeff Bezos, as a kid, recounts spending a lot of time in his local library where he read every book about space being his first passion, his first love. But in that process, he also learned that he really enjoyed reading. And there was this long game kind of plug about how he wanted to find a way to get to space and married two passions. The launch of Amazon, which started with book selling exclusively out of his garage, which then turned into what it is today, which ultimately was the vehicle he needed to create enough wealth to create a space company to build rocket ships to put him in space. Also, though, along the way, I'm sure they got clarity that the name of the game wasn't even to get to space, it was to collect data. Because data is the new natural resource. And you're talking a lot about first party data. And I want dealers to understand in this little sidebar that if you're not playing the long game, if you haven't identified what your space is and what your dealership operations and advertising is the vehicle to get you toward, it's going to be really difficult to ever play the long game. But there's got to be a greater purpose than just what's in front of us today. And you said something which triggered the sidebar, Vasily, did I say it right?
You crushed it.
Dude, you don't get to talk to people with sexy names very often. You said something about the first party data that made me think about this. And it was having a balanced mixed plan. And so often dealers, they're spending all their money on low funnel because they're so stuck in the today. I need to sell cars today. I need leads to work today. So let me ask you this. Now that you've entertained me for a minute, I'm going to shut up. How well does the Amazon ecosystem work as is it part of a mixed, balanced approach? Can it handle top of funnel all the way through the phases of the buying journey to low funnel? Do we still need to rely on other platforms?
Yeah, so I would 100% agree that where applicable, you want to have, obviously, your media plan should have a strategy related, most importantly, to the business objective that you're looking to solve. Regardless of that business objective, and for dealers, it's driving ROs, driving sales, right? Retaining customers, acquiring new vehicles, maybe upselling that vehicle, that customer into a new vehicle. In the end of the day, it's lifetime value. We measure success at the dealership. It's how do we retain and keep that customer for life? And Amazon fits very, very well into that marketing funnel because Amazon naturally is a mid-funnel customer. And at times, it's going to be upper funnel. And so when we talk about brand awareness and upper funnel, it's all the OTT that we're delivering is predominantly going to be upper funnel in terms of building that brand awareness. And then we sort of couple that bottom funnel intent, or we get more into that consideration mid-funnel intent by layering in inventory feeds, by trying to show users, hey, this is the dealer's brand promise, right? This is the brand promise from the dealer. Mm-hmm. And here's inventory coupled with that experience, with that dealer's brand promise. And so we sort of blend it. I would say Amazon's a very mid-funnel customer, and based on the strategy you deliver, could be more upper funnel, more leaning into that brand awareness play, or extraordinarily bottom funnel. And I would say most of our display direct response campaigns are mainly bottom funnel ads that are served to a very mid-funnel customer. So out of the box, Amazon.com is an e-commerce shopper. Think of who an Amazon user is. It's somebody who's shopping for convenience. They want it delivered to their home. They want it fast, right? In terms of 2-day or prime shipping. Right. And so, I would say you need, in terms of the media plan, you hit the nail on the head. You need Google, you need Facebook, you need other channels to support a holistic media plan. But depending, I tell people, dealers in particular, marketing directors, we talk about this all the time. I am not the shiny thing on the block that you're going to go all in on. As a media buyer, media planner, I would highly advise against that. And we tell our customers, even though we only deliver programmatic media on Amazon, we have customers media plan with us. I say, hey, let me look at your media plan, your cost per sale, and try to back into finding you efficiencies to buy on our channel, right? And so in doing that, we naturally fit, I would say, your point, which is where does Amazon fall? Well, the Amazon user's mid-funnel, and how you attack or approach that strategy, you can push budget towards a more brand awareness, upper funnel intent, or you can gear that budget more towards a more bottom funnel campaign strategy. And so it's flexible, whereas search tends to be mainly right bottom funnel, mid funnel intent, social being a lot more of that brand awareness. I don't even call Facebook ads. I don't even look at Facebook ads as a significant mid funnel, bottom funnel campaign strategy anymore. After I've evaluated, over the years, the quality of the leads that I've seen coming through the platform, I really think that, they've validated the effectiveness really through that offline attribution piece as well. And they did it because they knew that they can track back the impression, right, to someone who was exposed to the brand. And so Facebook was, hey, let's turn to Facebook to get leads. Then dealers realized, no, let's go to Facebook and some of these paid social strategies as a way to be more brand awareness, to go long term. And so, my best recommendation there too is like, well, what is your dealer trying to accomplish? How does that media, that's the biggest thing. Let's stop media planning on the 30-day. Can we stop that? Can we stop? We understand, hey, as a vendor in the space, we will tailor to your incentives that the OEM is right. But let's think about your strategy over a 12-month window, right? I think that's another thing here too, right? When we're thinking about how do we get that media plan to be more effective? Well, look at it at a broader window and back into your business objectives from there. You're going to give yourself a lot of more flexibility, and you're going to give yourself a lot more, I think, effective direction in terms of who and what media you're buying, right? And so that's where it's going to expose, like, am I spending too much on Google? Am I spending too much on Facebook over a longer window, right? That's what I'm getting at.
Yeah, it makes perfect sense to me. I mean, look, if your only business objective is to get ads with dynamic inventory insertion happening, then you're successful. If that's your only objective, you succeeded. Except, wait, you're not satisfied with that. Why? Doesn't turn you around the results that you're looking for. Why? Because you haven't defined your business mission yet. What are you aiming to achieve? And then, oops, can't happen in a 30-day window, because historically, life experience tells all of us that anything worthwhile takes a while. And so I love what you're saying, man, about let's look at your year. Do you know where you want to get this year? I mean, heck, let's look at your quarter. Do you even know what you're trying to accomplish this quarter? And then lean backwards, kind of to your point, lean backwards into, well, what are the tactics then? What do I need to deploy or execute upon in order to make that overarching goal happen? But again, like I said, if just getting vehicles listed through dynamic ads is the goal, then you already won. Except, oops, you didn't get the result you wanted, which tells me that wasn't your objective. You know what I mean? Like, it's funny, and I say it that way, tongue in cheek, because it's like we need to start acknowledging the fact that so few dealers, not just dealers, businesses, people don't have a roadmap that they're working off of. And I think, I don't know, I'd love your take, but I think that's what's keeping people in 30-day cycles.
It is. It definitely is. And, I do want to round that out, a little bit more. I think it needs, this topic needs to be spoken about more effectively, because, a lot of the conversation we had, I think, we built this Amazon business at the bottom of the market. What I mean by that is dealers were not looking to spend ad dollars, and we were walking in with a very effective solution to find a more efficient media buy. But it's not just about efficiency in the end of the day.
Right.
You look at the big brands like Carvana, CarMax, who are coming in a little bit more of a macro level, when, they obviously have a lot more to spend at that DMA space, but they understand the brand awareness, they understand the long-term investment. And our solve to dealers who are thinking a little bit more short-term is let us prove it out for you. Within 30, 60, 90 days, you give us your sales data and lead data to match back to the channel, we can prove the return on ad spend. And so that's been very, very compelling in a space where measuring success in a media channel today is rather difficult. And so, Amazon being on that bleeding edge, we can solve for that. Once we do that, the other more basic approach, without going that deep, or I say full funnel Amazon advertising is what we've brought to market. You can just look at your overall media mix, put everybody on paper, your vendor fees, your Google spend, your cars.com, third-party endemic, snake oil listing, right? Throw that fee on there. Throw the some random tool that you bought, think you're paying $600 a month. Add it all up, calculate your cost per car sold. Simple math, right? And back into your media plan from there. You'll probably free up $50,000, $60,000 that you can start to spend in a more longer term media buy, like a brand awareness campaign, like an awesome video asset on OTT that talks about so-and-so dealer, right? And your message in the local market. You can compete is what I'm telling dealers with this. I'm not saying buy us because it's Amazon. No, I'm saying buy into the media channel and instruct your media plan to deliver results for you, right? And so I think that's the biggest thing. And I think you hit the nail on the head. I hope that if there's anything dealers take away from this, it's that you got to stop thinking short term with your media and marketing and embrace that long-term investment into what you're delivering in the market, what you're saying to your prospective customers.
Yeah, that makes perfect sense. I've got one final question for you along the lines of attribution. When we map back in Amazon, is it taking all the credit? Is there a way to account for a mixed media model? How does that look? What should dealer be aware of when mapping back through Amazon?
Yeah, so when we receive the data, it goes into a clean room, right? Fully anonymized. We don't know who the user is on Amazon. And what we get back are a few key results. One is the integrity of the list that we just uploaded. And when we do that, we can see the match rate on the actual user email. So what we found is like our match rates right now, and this may be an advent of, who the actual stakeholder in the household was when they purchased the vehicle, right? That doesn't always translate to an Amazon user account. Or the other piece to this too is, maybe they purchased the vehicle with, a different email that was more towards their work email, but their Amazon account is on their personal email. Our average match rates are 60 to 70% is what we found. And when we match back the view through attribution is from the impression. So it's not the click. And so Amazon's going to attribute, right? They know who you are when you are logged into Amazon. All of our campaigns, this is pretty key. We use the shipping address zip code across all of our targeting.
Right.
Okay, so if you go on vacation to the Bahamas, you're still getting an ad in Dallas, Texas, where you live, right? Because we know the zip code's on your actual shipping address.
Right.
And so we minimize up to 30% of wasted spend, and our match back is attributed more accurately because we're only serving an ad to a logged in Amazon user. That's pretty key. And so there are efficiencies and also benefits in the match rate because we're serving it to a real eyeball, somebody who is logged into Amazon. They live in a very specific location. And so, when you ask that question, it is still variable, right? It's a moving target. And we are testing and uploading the integrity of the list. The same is true, though. And we ask dealers, when we articulate this back in our reporting calls, how clean is your CRM? And, we do rely on the market a little bit here on dealers effectively giving us the data, right? And having that data be clean. And that's the other side to this too, that I think is that it's a little bit of a work in progress.
Sure.
because it is new. It's not normal for an agency to say, hey, give me your sales data, or a vendor to say, hey, give me your sales. And people are reluctant to do it. But once they understand why, it's a no-brainer, right? Like, I want to know as much information about my business in order to spend my dollars most effectively. And I think dealers are really leaning into that.
Yeah. I appreciate the realistic answer, and how in depth you went there. There's this thing in our industry, in human nature, we just got to get rid of, and that is thinking that perfection is possible. You look at NASA, who arguably employs the smartest people on planet Earth, and they still manage to blow $1 billion in a rocket that explodes on launch. And so if they're prone to not being perfect, but always striving for progress, then in our industry, we need to stop expecting that a perfect anything exists. We need to stop being so hard on vendors and on dealers, because we're all screwing up and we're all failing forward. And it's impossible for us to read a Zig Ziglar book, fail forward, and be like, that was so inspirational, and then close it and turn around and be like, oh, what do you mean your attribution's a work in progress? F this, No, sorry. We screw things up, and it's never going to be perfect. However, what I appreciate is how you laid that out and said, well, look, here's how the data gets clean. Here's some things that can mitigate some errors, like how well is your CRM process, et cetera. Because I guess what I'm just trying to highlight here is, if you're listening to this and you're expecting perfect without a process internally, you've already failed. But if you do some key pieces right, that shouldn't have to really alter a ton, that are healthy practices anyway, this can be a very beneficial, very efficient, very practical addition or complement to programs that you already have running. Vasilios, man, thank you so much for joining me on the show. How can those listening get in touch with you?
Yeah, I'm going to be in Digital Dealer in Tampa next month. So you can see me in person, but you can find me on LinkedIn. If you search Vasilios Lambos, very easy to be found on LinkedIn. That's sort of my preferred channel per se on social to get in contact. And also CognitionDigital.io is our website. Come check it out. Submit a request for demo, and our team will hop on, and we'll be there to educate. Like you said, it's really about education, and we're here to pursue excellence, but not perfection.
Love it, man. Thanks so much for joining me on the Dealer Playbook podcast.
Thank you.